Hello.
Welcome to the Metaphysical Report. I am Sabrina.
And I'm Steve.
I'm the intuitive way shower. I'm a psychic, coach, and healer.
And I'm the acupuncturist, astrologer, and metaphysician.
Yay! So our show is all about metaphysics with a focus on numerology and astrology. Yep. Numerology, my forte. Astrology being Steve's forte. So today we're going to delve into our current eclipses.
Yes, yeah. So a lot of stuff happening for this month. We're in eclipse season, right?
We are.
So this is when you kind of get into this world, especially the world of astrology. You know, there are certain points that you pay attention to when they come around. You know, it's just kind of like, oh, is it New Year? Is it you know, whatever the holidays are? Well, for astrologers, eclipse season is super important. You have them twice a year.
Yeah.
And they are kind of like bookmarks, right? Bookends. So they kind of, the beginning of the year, the events and sets a tone, and then you have a bookend at the end of the year. So eclipse season is usually around springtime.
Yeah.
And then you have another one in the fall,
right?
And those 6 months apart, really the major events of life, big news, things that come up, you know, occur within those. And they often set themes, sometimes for multiple years. Right.
Okay.
So generally, eclipses are when the sun or the moon get eclipsed, right?
Yeah.
And the major theme of the sun is power, vitality, kingship, authority, authentic self. But in the mundane world, like every day, it represents the government, the king, those you know in power. And when they are covered up by the moon, seemingly, right? Then their power is eclipsed, their power is vulnerable. And so in ancient times, one of the main roles of the astrologer was to tell the king, you know, when he could be potentially overthrown, because that's literally what that means.
Right, that was when his power was diminished and he was weak.
Exactly, and very vulnerable too.
Yeah.
And so that was a big part of what they did in ancient times. And even to this day, that still holds true. When I was getting into astrology, very early on, I can remember this. This was like 95, and you know, this is when I had interest, but didn't really know all the details. And you just observe things. And so I remember there was a solar eclipse going over Indonesia, and not long after that, a month or so, there was a overthrow of a 30-year repressive regime.
Yeah. For
that was like. And I remember, oh my goodness, did that eclipse cause that or what? And so that's kind of spurred interest more and more. And so the eclipses, especially where they can actually be seen, where they're crossing over that country, has the most powerful impact, right? So a solar eclipse is possibly a change in government, the loss of power of political leaders, that kind of thing. And where it occurs, there's gonna be some difficulty connected with that. And lunar eclipse is the loss of rationality. The emotional mind gets eclipsed, and so really unusual. Like I think they would say like the Salem witch trials, right, where people just kind of lost their brains and minds about that, right? Just being carried out by the emotions of the mob, if you will. Those are lunar eclipses.
Okay.
So we want to see what's going on with that. And when those lights, we call them the lights, get eclipsed, very faded and karmic, almost kind of like a astrological riptide. You can't, well, you really can fight against if you want to,
right?
But things are just going to happen as they happen, right? And no more area of life in astrological world is more faded than eclipse. These things are just happening, right?
Wow.
And it seems hard to understand that, but we're like, I lost my mind. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what was. These situations just unfold, and it's almost the universe's way of correcting balances. That's why they're very karmic, right?
Correct.
So someone who's been cheating, lying, thieving, doing all, and all of a sudden he or she does something that completely undermines them, right? And all of a sudden they don't even realize they did it, right? Very karmic. They just do certain things, and it's pretty interesting the way that comes about, because it is very fated. It's just like, boom, this is what happens. So if it occurs, and what we'll be talking about today is the eclipses for the United States generally. We'll look at some of the houses that are being affected, because the influence of eclipse, traditionally people will say a month before, or a month afterwards, are the strongest, and then it slowly loses strength over the next 6 months until the next eclipse start again.
Okay.
Right. So usually pay attention to that the month before, month afterwards, and then pay that. And so you'll see shifts, very significant shifts can occur. And where it is in your chart is what we'll be talking about today.
Right.
We're going to go over each ascendant. So if you know your ascendant, that would be good to know. If you happen to know your sun or your moon positions, then you can kind of figure that out as well. But we're going to be talking about for each ascendant where the solar eclipse that occurred 4/20 happened, because it's still going to be in effect.
Sure, for sure.
For May, you'll still be in effect. It'll give you an idea as to what area of life is going to be highlighted, basically.
Right. Yeah. So with the eclipses, it's not a time to resist, it's a time to surrender. Otherwise, it could be even more uncomfortable.
Correct. Those areas of life are undergoing a change, and it's cosmically ordained. It's the best way to describe that for people. And it's always good to know kind of what areas of life are going to be under that change. Again, not necessarily negative, but just the balance needs to be restored.
Yeah. And
that's what's being restored. So
okay.
It's all for our own good.
Yeah. So the April 20th, 2023, so that adds up to, I have a 4, let me just double check. Yeah, that adds up to a 13. That's been the theme of
the karmic numbers,
our videos today. So adds up to a 4, right? So that 4 brings foundational energy, work ethic, discipline, focus, and limitations. And that's what just came on April 20th. And that 13 energy is that karma with the lack of work ethic again, so coming in. So maybe eclipsing things out of our life that we don't really care about, or we weren't putting a lot of effort into, you know. And then the numerology for the May 5th lunar eclipse, the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio, that adds up, here we go, to an 8, okay, and a 17-8, okay. So that's going to be a focus on, definitely a focus of power, okay, on power, money, career, rewards, recognition, definitely spotlight stuff, illusions, the truth coming out.
Okay, yeah. It's very much the theme that we've been seeing with everything we've been talking about for May, and these other videos we've been doing recently. It seems like pretty significant things happening.
Yeah, and with both eclipses. So we have the April one is a 4, and the May one is an 8. Those are both money numbers, and those are both power numbers. So those are going to be big focuses right now with these eclipses. Changing the power, changing the guards, disrupting power.
Disrupting things, absolutely. I can see, definitely. It feels that way, the other cards we had pulled previous for the forecast had to do with death, secrecy, so there's this theme of things being revealed and power dynamics and, power plays, manipulations, which Pluto represents, all that. So it's, again, the theme is consistent.
Right.
It's been consistent across many things. Right? We see it come up over and over and over again. So, did you want to pull cards first? Or
sure. Do you want to start with Aries ascendant?
Sure. So this solar eclipse for the 20th occurred in Aries, right? So for Aries, this is going to be their first house. And the first house, of course, has to do with the person themselves, their physical body, so health issues potentially are going to be highlighted. With this eclipse, the significance of this eclipse positively is Jupiter is the closest planet to the eclipses. So the sun and the moon together, the eclipse were at 29 degrees of Aries, and so that's very end of the degree, almost to 0 degrees. And so that's a very unstable position. And so health issues can potentially be related to Aries things. Aries is the head, right? So things in the head, the brain, the eyes, mental, right? So depression issues, if there's addictive issues, these things could be seemingly out of your control. So extra care is going to be required for people who have that. Checking on your loved ones, friends and family who have mental health issues, addiction issues, negative thoughts, Aries being a sign of action, these people, if they mean themselves harm, can take action that way, right? So it's going to be really important to kind of check on your loved ones for that, because if there are psychological issues, they can just kind of spin out of control relatively quickly. So that's going to be important to pay attention to health-wise that way. It's also because Jupiter is there, so Jupiter will be a kind of a positive influence there to the first house. Good counsel, good information. There's going to be there's a religious, spiritual aspect to it as well. Meaning a new sense of spirituality can be important to them. Inspiration, right? Jupiter represents those things. So people in Aries with Aries ascendant can be feeling really inspired to take inspired action towards what they've been wanting to do, either with their health or with taking a new direction in life, because this is Aries, new directions, bold action. So taking action in a positive direction. So for Aries, it's actually, can be quite helpful. In that regards,
Okay, great. So shall I pull some cards for Aries? Okay, so what's the main energy for Aries ascendant for the eclipse?
Okay. We'll talk about that in a second here. We keep seeing a theme here. We keep seeing a theme here.
Okay, so it's coming up for Aries in the tarot. We have the Death card, right? So this is number 13. Also reduces to a 4. This is the scorpionic energy as well, but this is all about endings, right? Endings, change, transformation. So there, interesting what he just said about some mental illness going a little bit haywire. So again, really looking into that on, what needs to be released, mentally, health-wise, and what new beginnings can you bring in. We also have hydrate, a lot of water. So this can talk about your intake of water, the quality of the water, but also being around water can be, and being in water can be very healing for you during this time. You have what a catch. So this could be you really connecting with like-minded people, with strong soulmate connections, just really vibing with some people in your life, strengthening your connections. And then you have also having some genius ideas. Again, that mental activity, having some genius ideas on things you want to carry out in your life that you should take action on. Yeah.
Okay, so new stuff happening there with them.
Definitely.
Okay. So then we move to Taurus ascendant. So for Taurus ascendant, this eclipse will be occurring in your 12th house, which is the house of higher consciousness, consciousness raising, the house of surrender, right? So all the more, right? It's just letting you know that there's a emphasis on that karmic theme of just allowing things to flow, and so surrendering to the process, letting go, right? So there's probably some sacrifice or letting go of something that maybe is not serving you at this time. There could be some financial loss potentially with that speaks to that, but there's definitely this theme of letting go and surrendering to the process. That's occurring at the same time where there's this spirituality coming in, right, or trying to come in to teach them and to help them. So yeah, but those definitely the theme of surrender is going to be pretty significant for Taurus ascendants. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. making sense.
Okay, cool. So, what's the major theme for Taurus ascendants during these eclipses? It's always funny when this similar cards come out.
Yeah, right.
All right, so for Taurus ascendants, we have the Strength card in the tarot, right? This is ruled by Leo energy. So with the Strength, this card is about holding back for the right reasons to become stronger. So it's sort of that limiting restrictive behavior in order to get stronger in the long run. But in general, this is about more vitality coming in, right? Actually getting stronger. And then we have drinking tea as really helpful. So if you're into any sort of herb teas or matcha tea lattes or mushroom teas, you know, drinking maybe some hot beverages can be really healing. You also got the what a catch, so also dealing and having some really strong connections, some really strengthening your relationships right now, having some soulmate connections that you're dealing with. And we also have really working on your listening. So listening to the trusted people in your life for feedback during this time.
Okay.
And listening to yourself, so having that alone time where you can really hear your own guidance.
Yeah, if they're doing 12th house things, it is kind of putting yourself away, retreat, kind of go internal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. All right, so moving on, we have a Gemini ascendant, and for Gemini ascendant, this eclipse is occurring in your 11th house, the house of one's social networks, friends, networks in terms of large groups, corporations, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's also the house of one's major ambitions and desires, and so, you know, maybe looking to complete something big, you know, and take, again, this is an Aries, so this is a big thing, right? This is taking action towards something major in your life that they've been wanting. It could be as simple as, you know, graduating. People are graduating and, you know, moving on to the next level. That's what 11th house is, you know, kind of getting a degree after the hard work has been put in. And so really the focus on is going to be something new, Aries, that's going to be connected to friends, groups, organizations, your social network, your network in general.
Okay.
And so any action in that area, taking action to, you know, you may need to network to kind of get where you need to get going, right? So that's going to be a big theme for Gemini ascendants. I'm trying to think. Oh, the 11th house is also a house of money. It's one of the houses of gain. They call it invading. And so investments. So it speaks to investments. So for this one, you know, because we've seen with the other things going on in this month, investments, I would, you know, watch over your investments, right? There could be some good opportunities, but I wouldn't want to overextend myself and be over exuberant in my investments, you know, because of the financial markets can kind of get a little wonky at this time as well. So that's definitely one of the themes for Gemini ascendants.
Okay, so let's take it to the cards. So what is the main theme for Gemini ascendant during these eclipses?
Wow. Make it up. Can't make it up.
We're getting some themes here.
Aren't we?
Okay, so for Gemini ascendants, so the cards are really talking about major transformation energy here. Okay, we got strength again, Leo energy, right? really working on increasing your vitality, right? Becoming stronger, but through change. We have the Phoenix here. So Phoenix rising from the ashes, maybe having some breakdowns to have some breakthroughs. We have taking out the trash, which is all about releasing the things that no longer serve you in your life, patterns, habits, people, all of it. And then we have 7 energy, so again, that reflective energy, solitude energy, and we have the burning bull ritual, which is all about using fire for transmutation to release what no longer serves us again, and really listening to our own guidance and of the people that we trust as well.
It's interesting, it's almost with that strength card coming again, that very martial energy, that fire. Again, Aries is a fire, fire sign, and so there's this theme of power, strength, but also in this case letting go and all that karmic theme as well. So that's fascinating to see this come up over and over again. So it's definitely a theme here for this month.
A lot of fire here.
A lot of fire here. Okay, now we go to Cancer ascendants. And in Cancer, for Cancer, this is going into your 10th house, which is the career house, right? So basically this deals with your dharma, your purpose, your sense of purpose, your career, and so there's going to be changes there over these next 6 months. Again, which could been feeling it up to March. But definitely May, June could definitely be popping up well. So there's going to be some changes, and kind of going along with that, maybe there has been some changes you've been wanting to make. Maybe they're voluntary, maybe not voluntary. There's been a lot of layoffs in the tech sector, this type of thing. So the idea here is being aware and listening, because Jupiter there is going to give counsel, right? There's going to be the opportunity to get good information, good knowledge that's going to be of benefit. But definitely the change is going to be occurring in the career house. So there's career change coming up, or consolidation coming up for Cancer ascendants.
Okay. All right. So what is the theme for Cancer during these eclipses? Okay, so here we have the Star card. So the Star card is ruled by Aquarius, okay? The Star is all about a wish coming true, okay? It is about feeling so hopeful, so optimistic about the future. It is about healing, right? And it is about destiny and fate. And just funny that you talked about, Dharma. So destined events happening that are going to bring you a lot of happiness. We also have releasing energy. Again, we got taking out the trash. So letting go of what no longer serves us. And with a Star, this can also be you being more in the spotlight as well. So getting some recognition for your hard work. And you got sovereignty. So really coming into more self-sufficiency, more independence. So, with tying that to job, career, that could be a higher position where you have more independence. That could be working from home. That could be starting your own business. That could be so many different things.
Sure.
And then you have 29, which is 11 energy. So again, illumination. And we have journaling. So really expressing yourself through words, through the written word, will also be really healing and beneficial for you during this time.
Okay. Yeah, again, theme, taking out the trash, out with the old, right?
Yeah.
And so that's again the theme of the karmic things, right? Allowing things to come out, to go out. All right, for Leos. All right, so in Leos, this is occurring in the 9th house. So the 9th house is the house of spirituality, of religion. It's a house of foreigners, foreign travel, right?
Okay.
It's an expansive house. Practically speaking, it's a house of higher education. So this could be either looking to get back into school, maybe you're finishing up school, but there's something with the schooling and the knowledge that you're getting, right? Or looking to get. That's going to be, so it could be issues with professors and our mentors, if you will. So that's going to be significant for people for Leo ascendants. Paying attention to those themes of higher consciousness, religion, mentors, education, higher education, and travel. For some people, it could just be travel, sabbaticals, and things like that. So overseas travel. So that's going to be significant for them, especially with Jupiter being there. Jupiter is a natural indicator for like ninth house things, right? Foreigners and this expansive, growing your knowledge, right? So yeah, I can definitely see someone that theme occurring for them.
For Leo.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. All right. So what is the theme for Leos under these eclipses?
Do that one.
Okay, so for Leos, we have the Hangman, which is ruled by Pisces, more Pisces energy. The Hangman is all about taking a break, taking a pause, not taking action, doing a lot of reflection for more enlightenment, for more clarity. Can even talk about making sacrifices in your life. Now we also have the Movement card, and Steve talked about, foreign lands, and this could talk about traveling. So traveling, moving energy even, really hitting the Leos. And we also have just falling back on that gratitude energy. So really being in that gratitude during this eclipse period. And then we have a lot of homey energy as well. So really, making your home the sanctuary, making it be really cozy, spending more time just chilling out and relaxing. Again, you got that taking a pause with that Hangman. So just really chilling and relaxing and really focusing on, being creative at home. That can be, with your meals that you're making, and doing anything creative at home. So that's what's coming up for Leos.
Leos, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now we have Virgo ascendants, okay? So now we get into a little choppy waters here, because for Virgo ascendants, this is the eclipse is occurring in your 8th house, which is a house of change, house of crisis, turning points, right? And so this speaks to some change that's necessary, that's needed, and this change could be fated, where you're not feeling you have much control over what's happening in life. And so it would be important for them to just be aware. And again, the theme of surrendering, allowing what's occurring, and then at the opportune time, then to take action, right?
Right.
But not a reflexive, reactionary aspect to this, right? Because change is coming, it's here, and so the idea here is to go with the flow, and just biding the time to actually take the appropriate action at the right time as well. But it's 8th house, so 8th house is transformative experiences, potentially crisis situations that you need to have your wits about you to take the fullest advantage, right? Because there's always opportunities in change.
Right.
And so this is one of those for sure. So for Virgo people, 8th house, change.
Yeah. And isn't that also the house of scandals? Scandals, sex stuff.
Things being revealed, things from the past, especially with it occurring, we have this Mercury retrograde, things from the past. If you've been suspicious of certain things not working out, or what's going on, they may be revealed to you as to what's really been happening, right? So you may find this may be revelatory for you, right? And so that may shake your world to an extent. And so just being prepared and grounded enough to, but these are things you've been looking for, these answers you've been looking for, right? Yeah. And so they'll be revealed this time. So yeah, really good to pick up on that. Yeah. Okay. Scandals and revelatory.
Yeah. Okay.
Secrets coming out.
So let's see what's coming up for Virgos with the cards.
think there was no other cards in these decks. As many cards you have.
Too funny.
There is a definite theme that these cards want to be told.
Wow.
Without a doubt. Okay.
All right. So for the Virgo ascendants, here we have the Hangman again. This Hangman's coming up strong for this eclipse season. So again, this is Pisces energy. So this can be an energy of sacrificing ourselves, making sacrifices. This is a period of time of not taking a lot of action, pausing, reflecting, for more enlightenment, for more clarity coming in. Along with that, we have the energy of solitude. Okay, so again, that solitude, that reflection time, especially crisis, scandals, truths coming out, needing that time for reflection, okay? But also making sure that you're having fun, having some lighthearted time, okay? Enjoying your close connections, just having some lighthearted time. And then you got communication here, okay? So this can mean all kinds of things, but making sure that you're communicating your truth, right? And you could even be the one who's illuminating others with bringing the truth to light. Could be literally from you, not only to you, okay? So really communicating your truth, especially after all of this alone cathartic time. Yeah.
You know, what I'm picking up on too is Mercury. Virgo's ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the verbal sign,
right?
And so it's like that need to communicate
the truth.
The truth is probably all the more important, especially in an 8th house situation where things can be chaotic, or things are being found out, and maybe you're either, as you say, communicating to that person, or it's being communicated to you, and,
right?
Don't kill the messenger kind of situation going on. So that is fascinating that we get that communication card in, and yeah, it's just really, it's almost like you said with that Hangman, taking the time, because if these are fraught situations, you may not just want to react reflexively. You may want to just okay, what now that I know this, what do I do with this information? How do I, right? What do I do with everything? So, okay, that's really okay. Okay, interesting. All right, so this brings us to Libra, right? So this is actually kind of almost appropriate, because Libra is a sign connected, is a natural 7th house sign of the chart, which is relationships. And for Libra's ascendant, the eclipse is occurring in your 7th house of relationships, right? So relationships are going to be revelatory, and there'll be karmic things connected with relationships dynamics. It could be one-on-one, personal romantic relationships, husband, wife, all that kind of stuff going on, partnership relationships, but also partnership relationships in terms of business, right? So business things happening, particularly as it relates to taking action there, right? So that could be coming up. It could, these dynamics could be connected to starting new relationships, right? Or something, or a change that's necessary to allow the relationship to go further, in moving in new territories, right? Whether it's personal, romantic, or business, or otherwise. But it's definitely going to be relating to others in a new way, and changes the dynamics there for people. So it's going to be interpersonal dynamics going on for Libra people, for sure. That's super important for them.
And with all the retrogrades, especially over the summer, then there could be a lot of the past relationships coming back in, either for renewal or closure.
Exactly. Especially, with this is almost setting up that Venus retrograde that's coming up in about 2 months' time. So this is, you're kind of maybe getting a bit of an inkling, and the chess pieces are being maneuvered a certain way, if you will, in your life. And so if you can get us kind of going inwardly, reflecting to seeing who's who on the chessboard of your life, you can see, okay, this might be setting up a certain way. So this is kind of giving that inclination even now. What that could be. So definitely, interpersonal relationships are taking center stage, and the changes, karmic, seemingly that are occurring.
So let's see what
the cards say.
The cards say for the eclipse themes for Libra.
Definitely shuffle with a good amount. They still keep coming out.
Ooh.
little saucy here. Get a little spicy here. There we go. Okay. Again, there's the theme. They definitely want to talk to us. They definitely want to talk to us.
Okay. So here we have the devil, okay? The devil is ruled by Capricorn, okay? Now, the devil can mean a lot of things. Now, Steve was talking about relationship stuff, right? So the devil can definitely talk about karmic partners, business-wise, love-wise, right? Someone that you have a very strong soulmate connection with, but it's not necessarily the healthiest. There could be some toxicity around it, okay? This can also talk about obsession. So obsession with people in your life, right? So again, there's that change here. So this could be cutting out relationships that might have been toxic in your life, having closure around relationships that could have been toxic or not healthy for you. And then we have, just like he said, a lot of socializing energy here. We have spending time with friends, you know, close connections, having that lighthearted time, having joy with other people, really. And then you got spirit. And spirit's all about, you know, you connecting to your higher self, right? You allowing that time to get guidance, and really working on your energy, because the devil not only related to people, but this can just talk about maybe habits you have in your life, or patterns that also might be toxic. That might be a good time to look at those, to see if any changes need to be made.
Yeah. There's definitely some activity going on for the Libra people, Libra ascendants. Okay, so now we move on to Scorpio ascendants. Yes. So, all right. So for Scorpio ascendants, this solar eclipse is occurring in their 6th house, right?
Okay.
And so I know you're a Scorpio ascendant. So,
yes.
So basically, 6th house is the house of health and healing, and this eclipse is going to really emphasize the need for health routines, healing routines, because Jupiter is really close to that connection with that eclipse, influencing it. What that basically means is Jupiter helps us find solutions. It's a planet of abundance and prosperity, good things that are occurring. So getting good knowledge. So it's a good time for being able to get good information, you know, as regards a health condition, a health problem, things
solutions
like that. Health solutions,
in.
yeah. So that's really good about that. Because, you know, 6th house obviously it can be challenging. 6th house is also the house of legal matters. So if there's legal issues, that could help for people who are in the Scorpio ascendant. And of course, 6th house is also the house of daily work, employment. And so, you know, again, there can be some difficulties in work, that there are solutions that are found for those people who are having those problems. So it's all 6th house related things for Scorpio people. Yeah.
Love it. So solutions for daily work routines as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. So
sweet.
That would be good.
All right. So let's look at the cards for Scorpio ascendant.
Yeah. We continue the same theme here.
It's so funny because I think this is what was for Libra that we just pulled.
This is why this sounds really familiar. That's the one they wanted.
Okay, so coming up for Scorpio ascendant, which is me, we have the devil. So it's come out again. So the devil represented by Capricorn, and then we also have releasing energy. So going back to releasing unhealthy habits, patterns, routines, people, situations that are toxic in some way. Okay. And then we have cleaning. So we have cleaning, organization, structure, working on efficiency, and then also giving to others. So taking some of that focus off ourselves and also giving to others during this time. Yeah. So that's what's come up for Scorpio Ascendant.
Scorpio Ascendants. Okay, yeah. The very similar themes of, it's about clearing out with the old,
cleansing.
Right? Cleansing. That's all. Yeah, a lot of the sixth house stuff as well, which is similar to that. So, especially the cleaning, the releasing. Yeah, this makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
So a great thing for all of us to do during this. Now we're full moon, May 5th, lunar eclipse in Scorpio.
Yeah.
All of us can do some sort of transformative release ceremony.
Correct.
Using fire. We could all use that.
Yes, we could.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because that's what the eclipse is doing. Yeah. It's eclipsing things out of our lives.
Yep. Things moving out.
Yeah.
Out with the old, in with the new. That's good with that.
Okay.
All right. So then we have Sag Ascendants.
Yep.
Okay, Sagittarius. For Sagittarius Ascendants, the eclipse will be in the fifth house, right? So the fifth house is the house of a couple things. One, the house of children, right? That's one of the main things it means in astrology. So for those with kids, this could be a time where you're initiating new routines with them. Something coming into their life. Especially with Jupiter being there, Jupiter is the natural significator of children, and so this could definitely mean something positive with their children, some expansion for them, them learning some new skills or something new in their development stage. Will take center stage for the people with Sag Ascendants.
So very much a nurturing energy.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. Fifth house is also the house of creativity. So this is one's creative endeavors, creative projects. They're going to take center stage. They're going to be expanding. Maybe if they were starting one way, but now it's building out into something more. Right.
Okay.
So that's very much the themes with that. So it's your creative endeavors, right? Creative activities along those lines.
And also, is that house also associated with like joy?
Joy, yeah.
So just like kind of working on having more joy in
more
our
joy,
lives,
yes.
And that creativity can add into it, right? Being in that flow, focusing on what we need to be happy.
Well, you need to be just that intrinsic joy that comes from that creative process, right? Like just the fact of things being creative, just automatically like it's the reason why the sun rules Leo's a natural fifth house. There's that energy, there's that effervescence about it, right? That people are attracted to. That's why the fifth house rules celebrities and movies and movie stars and all, right? Because we celebrate them because wow, look at that, that's fantastic, that's brilliant, right? So anything connected with that kind of energy is what the fifth house is about. So it's kind of calling forth on that, and there's going to be a lot of new artistic endeavors, I'd imagine, for the Sagittarius people. They'll be birthing some new things. Yeah.
Okay, let's take it to the cards. I mean, that sounds like more positivity for the eclipse for Sages. Okay. And the Sagittarius card has come out. One of the Sagittarius cards.
Well, it seemed that way to me when I saw it. It looked really clear, clean, and bright. So that makes sense. Oh yeah, well, definitely a sign of creativity. Cool.
So definitely more positive vibes here for Sag Ascendants. Okay, so here we have one of the Sagittarius cards in the tarot, Temperance. Temperance is all about healing, it's about harmony, it's about peace, and it's about patience. Okay? And then here we have timing being really important for the Sages, so really looking at cycles in their life, and again, the eclipse, right, we're looking at releasing, but timing is especially important for them. Now we also have energy of connections here. We have connecting to the womb, okay, so that could just be connecting to the sacral energy for both men and women. And this is our creativity. So
Sure.
that womb center, that's creation,
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
So all of us sort of working on our sacral centers. So really delving deep into creativity, sexuality, sensuality, because that's all connected. And then we have Sweetheart. This card is all about connecting with others, okay? So not only connecting with ourselves, because this is also about bringing more joy into our lives, but also connecting with others. And the Sweetheart can talk about romance. It can also talk about people coming back from the past.
Okay.
And then we have Abundance here. So, okay, we're looking at all these more positive things, seems like for Sag Ascendant, including more happiness coming in, just in general.
Which makes sense, because Sagittarius is, you know, natural planet ruled by Jupiter, so yeah, so that's really good. And the fifth house is one of the, in Vedic astrology we call it's one of the good houses, right?
Yeah.
So that, okay, yeah. If I was Sag, I'd be really excited
Looks
about that. Awesome.
Yes.
Yes, that's good. All right, so the next one, of course, will be Capricorn Ascendants. Capricorn, this will put all this occurring in the fourth house. The fourth house is the house of one's emotional center, emotional nature. And so, so work there, heart-centered work, with our roots, with our family. Fourth house is also the mother, right? So anything that's that grounds us, our past, our familial connections, this eclipse will be bringing up issues with that to help either clear that out or to just get more clarity on those situations. But definitely, it's you know, that calls for a lot of emotional work, basically.
Okay.
On the practical point, it could be changes in the home. The fourth house represents the home, right? So it could be maybe moving the house, or maybe you know, there might be some dissatisfaction that the eclipse brings, where the person's like, you know, we've been thinking about moving. Oh, how, you know, what do you think about that? That those discussions might actually come up now in with that, as relates to the more concrete, practical effects. You can see it.
Yeah, the foundation.
The foundations of people's lives, for sure. Yeah, yeah. So that's a lot of what Cap is going to. And you know, for Cap people, that's kind of important. Capricorn, you know, they are about that security, feeling that sense of security,
right.
And of course, home brings you that sense of security. So that it might feel somewhat tenuous at first as they're trying to work those issues out. Whether it's actually moving the home or if it's just metaphorically, you know, the emotional nature, some needing some groundedness,
Sure.
that kind of thing. But that could, those are kind of people are going to be working with that fourth house issues for sure. Yeah.
So a great time for emotional healing, therapy, energy work,
correct,
all of that.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
All right.
Okay, that's right. Okay, good. Well, pick it up.
So here for the caps, we have Leo vibes. We have the Strength card. The Strength card can talk about things that we've been holding back, things that we've been holding on to in order to get stronger. But with this emotional healing time over the next 6 months, will be a time of letting go of emotional stuff, could be old traumas, whatnot. That is time to be released, right? And in order for us to get stronger and to move forward in our lives. Again, with that creativity, that fire energy is coming back to, again, just being creative in the home, right? That can be, you know, food, anything. That's the physical, the grounding element, but also in the home, being creative in the house. And then we have the Coffin card. The Coffin card is all about endings, right? Endings, preparing for new beginnings. So again, focusing more on the emotional, so emotional endings. And then we have Mobilize. Mobilize definitely talks about, of course, movement. This can talk about travels. It could talk about literally moving, okay?
Wow.
And it also talks about inspiring others. So really sharing your journeys with others of how you're healing and will inspire others to also do similar things in their lives.
Perfect. Wow. A lot of synchronicity with that. A lot of synchronicity
Yes.
with that. That makes sense. That's making a lot of sense. Okay. So yeah, they give you some shifts for Cap ascendants.
Yeah.
All right, that means we move on to Aquarius ascendants. This eclipse will be occurring in your third house. Third house is a house of several things. One, self-expression, right? How you express yourself, whether that be the internet, media, writing, musical endeavors, any kind of expressive way of getting your voice out there, literally and figuratively. This is there's going to be new beginnings here. Eclipse is going to be working communications, absolutely. Anything on the internet, kind of what we're doing here, right?
Yeah.
This is all third house things. Third house is also the house of one's siblings, right? Specifically the younger siblings, right? Yeah. But it's also just one's peer group, right? So in the military, the third house generally means the military, right? Because those other soldiers are your peers, right? Yeah. So the band of brothers, right? That kind of thing, brothers and sisters. That's what third house represents. So there'll be some interactions that way that the eclipse will bring with siblings. Third house also represents one's daily travels, right? So usually there's a lot of movement with that, right? So think about the communication thing; it just goes back and forth, right? And so that energy is also about moving back and forth. So you may find yourself just either having difficulty getting your day-to-day activities done just because there's hang-ups. We're on the Mercury retrograde, right? So the extra issues with that potentially. But definitely I'd say the piece that people might notice the most is just that communication piece, that expressive piece, getting out there, media, right? How are they expressing themselves? This eclipse will be working that for them.
Sure.
Working that for them. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see what the cards say about Aquarius ascendant. Too many.
Wow. News coming up.
Okay. So for this one, this also has a lot of fire elements here. We have the Emperor. The Emperor is represented by Aries. So again, you get that fire element, right? We talked about communication, expression. Also have creativity has come up here, right? Can be in regards to, again, doing things in the home, food, really anything creative. Now here, we have the Wicked card. Now, the dark side of the Emperor is someone who is sort of a tyrant, a dictator, someone who's extremely controlling, someone who's stubborn, who doesn't, it's my way or the highway type energy. And then we have that Wicked card here, which can talk about deception, which can talk about putting on false airs. This can talk about not the best intentions here. So with that Emperor, there might be elements of either that within ourselves, as far as, okay, where am I trying to control everything? Where am I not seeing others' point of view, others' beliefs? I'm not hearing people, okay? But it could also talk about maybe the situations and our people that are in our lives that we need to make some changes, right? That we're, again, we have a big focus on family, third house, right? Family and extended family, siblings. So there might be some changes in regards to that, especially on the darker end, okay? And then we also have genius here. So with that creativity, with that expression, we have genius ideas coming to the forefront over the next 6 months that could really elevate the status, because the Emperor is like the king, right? So that could really elevate our status as far as our power as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting shifts there. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Now we have, finally, of course, we get to Pisces, the 12th sign, always the end. Pisces is always, it was always last. Pisces, so for Pisces, this eclipse is occurring in their second house, and this is having to do with finances, right? So that's probably the most concrete things that every time we think about second house, we talk about people's money, finances. You can expect some shifts there. Now with Jupiter being there, it's kind of like solutions to their finances, or their finances, getting their finances together, or they're finally coming together, kind of thing, which is kind of nice. I'm a Pisces ascendant, so I can kind of see that lining up, right?
Sure.
Thus far, so you see that. Second house is also the house of one's immediate family, right? And just the whole family as a unit. So there could be some difficulty is not even a word really here, because Jupiter is bringing is giving the promise of solving, of solutions, of forgiveness, healing energy that comes in the family. So you can really, there'll be some good cohesiveness that can come about over the next 6 months for Pisces ascendants, right, in their family. You know, and that's occurring to me right now. That, you know, there's some personal friends that I know about, and you know, yeah, they're also Pisces ascendants, and I've seen that lately, right? So that's really kind of cool to know that that's occurring. So yeah, there could definitely, Jupiter is really the salve, the salve here is really kind of, you know, being really protective. The eclipse just brings things up, right? They open them up, very faded type of things, but the planet that's there kind of tells you how that will be addressed, right? And Jupiter is letting us know that it's going to be something that comes up for healing and processing in a good way. So that's what's really going to be happening for Pisces view. Yeah.
All right. So a lot of healing in the family.
A lot of healing in the family. Yeah.
Something that I heard recently that really was an interesting, different perspective was conflict can make us closer.
Yes. Okay.
Conflict can make us closer.
Okay.
All right.
I can go with that.
Let's look at the cards for Pisces. Of course, if done in mature ways.
Sure. Right.
Okay. So here we got the Death card. So we've had definitely a pattern of a few of the major arcana coming up over and over again as far as the overall patterns of this eclipse. We got the Death card. So this is one of the Scorpio cards, right? Very scorpionic energy. And then we have also the Not Today card, which is all about feeling hurt, avoiding, not dealing with something. So going back to that family stuff coming up to the surface, there definitely could be some hard stuff that comes up, right? And again, this is going to come over time, over the next 6 months. It's going to unravel, but there could be a lot of conflict and hurt, at least in the beginning of trying to get to that healing. And the Death card, that's all about the transformation. It can also talk about loss and endings. So through that, maybe even through on the other side of it, healing, say for someone with their parents, could be literally putting up stronger boundaries, and that could be healing for them, you know? So there's like all different ways to look at it. We also have touch as very important for the Pisces ascendants over the next 6 months is touch. So, you know, of course, people in our lives, but we can also pay people to touch us, you know? And then we have, again, the genius ideas coming out from all of this. So sparking some inspiration here and some ideas, some projects that we need to really take action on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so it's pretty deep here as well. Yeah, so it's transformative, right?
For sure.
Yeah, it's transformative.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Makes sense.
definitely dealing, again, with that emotional healing that might be really hard,
Yes.
especially around the family.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that is the
All signs.
snapshots for all the signs there. So yeah, a lot of things happening. Really interesting to hear what people have, and if you do, for sure, please comment. You know, let us know. We'd be interested in seeing how all that plays out for people. You know?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, so.
And then we have, you know, of course, the lunar eclipse on May 5th.
May 5th, that's coming up. Yeah, so that's, you know, and again, right, so now we have that continuing theme, Scorpio, right? So it comes up again, right? So, these eclipse. So basically, people who have Scorpio ascendants, Scorpio moons. You're a Scorpio ascendant, I'm a Scorpio moon. So yeah, it can get pretty heavy because Scorpio is a natural 8th house. So there's just changes and unexpected things that can come up, which it did. Right? This makes perfect sense.
Sure.
It can be emotionally draining. For sure. So paying attention to that, if there's any time for self-care, it is definitely those times, right? So people can definitely kind of expecting that. Those who are, like I said, any significant planets in Scorpio, like a Scorpio ascendant, your sun, your moon,
right.
If your Mars is there, but really if any planet is there, you can expect those areas of life, what they represent, to be shifts and changes occurring there. Because also, of course, this is a retrograde, this is eclipse energy, it's also a full moon, right? I mean, you couldn't stack this up any better for just an emotional pile-on, if you will, of the planets. What I find interesting is that, at times astrologers and in our community in general, it's kind of like there's all these aspects that are always going on, right?
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily, unless you really have very specific planets that are here, they don't really affect. Something like this will pretty much, I won't say affect everyone, but generally, because it is Scorpio, right?
Yeah.
So it's deeper. So I always find that you always see these things coming about, but these are the ones that people need to pay attention. You have a lunar eclipse and a full moon, right, at the same time occurring. Yeah, unless you have literally 0 planets there, or there's not really connections, you may not feel it, but I think most people will feel it. Now, on the world level, for sure, right? This is going to be felt as major changes, emotion. 12th Scorpio, because we do have a world conflict going on right now. We can expect to see more intensifications, right? Unfortunately, with the war in Ukraine, but also just wars in general, which is actually going on. There's a crisis now going on in the Sudan, and so yeah, the 8th house. Anytime the 8th house is activated, as it is now, we can expect to see sudden, unexpected, sometimes tragic events, if you will, but things that people are having to deal with, that's emotional traumas that people are having to work through, right, on the world level. So,
and with that world point, I think you said it was in Mercury.
Yeah, so Mercury started out on a world point at the beginning of the Mercury when it was in its shadow, if I believe, and then on its way out by the end of this month, right? It's going to be back on that world point again, right? Because again, what it does, it retrogrades from that, goes lower, and then goes back again. Mercury will go direct on the 15th, May 15th, and it will get back to that 15-degree point later on in this month, around the 30th, 31st. And then we can expect to hear more in the news of things that we had heard previous, right? In the beginning of the month. So this end of the month, we're going to see a lot of things. We already had some stuff in the news that can occur.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
So we had some things like, so we had media is one of the things that Mercury rules, right? So anything to do with media, magazines, news, newscasters. So of course we had
Tucker Carlson
get fired from Fox News, and then because all things Mercury is a dual sign, there was literally that same day we had Don Lemon being let go from CNN, right? So you almost could when I heard that had happened, I was like, of course this makes a lot of sense because it's Mercury, it's dual, right? Mercury's a dual sign, right? And you had 2 competing news stations with different ideologies, left, right, and they both had people that they let go. I mean, that was the perfect Mercury significations, right? So we can expect to hear more news. Either more news will come out about those, how that happened, or what they're going to do next. But you can expect more news connected to the media that's going to come out as well.
And then what happened this week with the announcement?
Oh yeah, well the other big announcement, of course, is that the pandemic is officially over, right? And it'll officially be sunsetted May 11th, right? But the news was announced this past week about that, and of course that's significant because all of the planets that are occurring in Taurus, right? for the United States is the United States sixth house, the house of health and healing.
Right.
So now we have some major news about health and healing, right? About coming out this past week.
Right.
You know, that's going to occur. And so what's interesting about that is the day after that announcement was made, the head of the CDC, Walensky, I think her name is, she resigned, right? So that was huge, right? So it's like, again, you can't make this stuff up,
right?
As it relates to sixth house and the predictions that you can expect to improve, right? Because Jupiter is going to go into Taurus the 16th, right?
Yeah.
And so and it's going to stay there for a year, so we can see improved health situation in the United States, public health to improve, right? And so really, it's almost like someone knew astrology when they did this.
That's great news.
Yes, it is really good news.
Yeah.
Really good news. Yeah.
And then we have some of the violence that's come out recently.
Sure.
With that Mars energy.
Mars energy is happening. So what's happening, of course, is Mars is at 22 degrees of debilitated in Capricorn, and it's on a world point of 22 degrees. So for the cardinal signs, 0 and 22 degrees are the world points where when planets hit those degrees, something happens in the outer world that we take notice of. So it went 22 degrees earlier this week, and and even today, next couple days. And of course, there was unfortunately another mass shooting, right? Mars represents violence. And when Mars is debilitated, means that we get the negative side of Mars. And when it's on a world point, it's usually intensification of some kind of violence. And you know, we're still having that war, and definitely. So one thing we hadn't talked about was there was apparently an assassination attempt on Putin. These drones came in and crashed into the Kremlin, which is basically their White House, if you will, right? That's their headquarters, if you will. And so there was an attempt, right? Nothing happened other than a big dramatic explosion. Yeah. So continue the theme of intensification of violence, unfortunately. But you know, that's kind of what you can expect with a debilitated Mars, right? These are the things that you will see in the world, right? When that happens. So thankfully, Mars will be moving out of debilitation, you know, within about the 20th of May. It'll be moving out. So that'll be good in one sense. It'll finally move into Leo. Okay. Leo.
And then we had, speaking of explosions, we had SpaceX, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk exploded his the rocket ship, the largest rocket ever built, which was, you know, to eventually get us to Mars. Interesting enough, I mean, you just can't make this up. We were talking about Mars, and so the whole time it was Mars's debilitation. Of course, what happens to that rocket? It blows up.
Right, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Now, you know, this is the phase where you're working things out. So for them, they still get information, how they can improve things and whatnot, right? It wasn't like this was a be all and end all, right? But this does get them further along. They can find out where they made mistakes or where mistakes was made, what was going on, and so basically that can help. You know, every failure is not a failure; it's a success, especially in this case, right? So they, you know. That's how that works. But yeah, that's, you know, explosion, Mars, Mars explosion. You can't make that up. Yeah. And of course, you know, this was also during retrograde, so this probably wasn't the best time, you know, for them to actually have that. So you know, Elon, you know, get with an astrologer. You know, we're just saying that I think we might be able to help with some things there. At least plan when not to have, you know, big rockets go up.
Right. Yeah. So all right. So anything else we need to speak about the eclipses?
The eclipses, well, you know, the lunar eclipse, eclipses, again, very fated events. They just kind of seemingly happen out of nowhere. So, you know, really just
expect the unexpected.
Yeah, and just being able to roll with the punches as they go, and to just have the time off as you need, or just whatever it is, self-care wise, that's important. We know we both experienced that. So that's really what I would say about the eclipses. We have them, you know, they're like bookends, right? We have the beginning of the year, and then we'll have another set that we will talk about in October, November-ish. And, you know, and the things that happen in between are the things that they've kind of churned up, right? Yeah. And so they are the things that when you start living astrologically and in the metaphysical world, you know, there's a rhythm to the life, and the eclipses are part of that, right? They are definitely the things that, you know, shake things up. They churn things up from the subconscious world that allow us then to see them, to help process them, and, you know, if we're able to, then we're able to take advantage of that and get on the other side of it. But they definitely bring up things to our awareness that we need to work on.
Right, and especially knowing in advance what's coming.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's why where numerology and astrology can come in so handy. It's like you can help plan your whole life.
You can absolutely look at that.
You know, day to day, but also far on the future, knowing what's coming.
Yeah, we can see that in the wider world, right? We can see kind of all that. So there's just a lot of the news that we're going to see churn up, right? And then like, oh, okay, this is what we're going to be dealing with. All right, and then, you know, you can look on ahead, be like, okay, this is what you'll be dealing with, you know, in October, November, right? But of course, you know, it's just best to focus on the one that's occurring now because it sets a table up for later on, if you will, right? As an aside, you know, 2024 next year, we have a huge one that's coming up. You know, we have a total solar eclipse that's occurring over the United States, and you know that one seems like that needs to be a double show. Right? Even now, thinking about it, I've been looking at it for some time. In fact, I've been looking at it since 2017. Right? When the first eclipse happened, total eclipse happened in 2017. That kicked off the Me Too movement, right? So we saw the huge shift that brought to the United States. So this one here will bring another huge shift, right? And of course, there is the added intensity of what? It's election year.
And it's a 9-year.
And it's a 9-year. I mean, listen, if you want to just jam-pack the goodies, 2024.
Fireworks, baby.
Fireworks. Be ready. Be ready. It's on. So it's exciting to share this with people on a monthly basis because we can follow along and kind of get heads ups and feel the trend as it's occurring, and that's what's exciting for us as we kind of do this to help people anticipate and be able to work with it more effectively. And life will happen. Things will kind of take us off by guard, but nationally we can kind of get a better sense as to kind of where we are.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm excited about that.
Awesome. So we hope you guys enjoyed the video on the eclipses. And we'd love to hear your comments as always. And please like the video, that really helps us. And please subscribe.
Down here, of course.
We'd love to have you as part of our tribe. And if you'd like a private reading with either of us or both of us together, you can find all that information below in the description box.
Absolutely. So, yeah, until next time, we'll see you later.
See you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.